Yo, this is Tony Hoffman. I am your host. This is the One Choice Podcast. You are listening to another episode of The Truth, where I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Hey guys, before we start, I want to say if you like this podcast, please like, rate, and review the podcast and share it with some friends. Tell people about the podcast. Tell people about the things that you like. And you know what? Even if they don't want to listen to it, grab their phone, subscribe to the podcast. It's pretty simple. Just grab a phone, pull up their podcast app if they have an iPhone, which most of you do, hit the subscribe button, and give it a 5-star review. Do that for me, please. Help us out. This podcast is all about you guys. It helps me grow when those kinds of things happen. But ultimately, I don't want you to just do that, really. I want you to get other people listening. And I want you to get other people to enjoy this podcast. Today's episode is going to be about healing a broken heart. And this came up as a listener reached out to me and said, can you do something on healing a broken heart? And the listener broke down the situation of a relationship they were in, and they wanted to know how to heal their broken heart. And it just so happens that I have a broken heart right now myself. Isn't that sad? It's true. I have a broken heart right now. It really is just discouraging, guys. I'm 34 years old and I'm terrible at relationships. I'm terrible. I'm actually not terrible. I feel like I'm really good in a lot of very important areas, but I'm just not good in other areas. You know, if you've heard me speak live, you've heard me talk about going to therapy, and I still go to therapy. And one of the things I go to therapy for is attachment-based anxiety issues. And those attachment-based anxiety issues lead to fears, and those fears cause insecurities. And not a lot of people want to deal with insecurity issues. Now, I would say that on a scale of 1 to 10, my insecurity issues with my ex were probably about a 5, but my ex was very repulsed by any kind of level of insecurity, and that's no fault to her, but it is what it is. And I think that everything else that I do right in a relationship gets overlooked sometimes by some of the struggles that I have from my past. And so here I am at 34, still single, and it's going to take some work to get myself in a position where, I can provide everything that my partner needs in such a healthy manner. I mean, I'm still going to therapy, and that's what I'm going to do. But for this listener, they gave a breakdown of their relationship and where they're at, wanted to know how to move forward. And that's where I'm at. I'm trying to move forward. But I know this, in 34 years of my life, I've had a lot of breakups and a lot of broken hearts. And I've had to do some very specific things that I feel have really helped me move forward and heal from a broken heart. And I want to share those with you guys because I don't think a lot of people are very mindful of their situation when they're going through a broken heart. One of the first things I think that we do when we have a broken heart is we try to come up with reasons why the other person is at fault. Like I can almost guarantee you, my last relationship, the person is running around and telling everybody that my insecurity issues are the reason that we're not together, and not that, his insecurity issues and my anger issues or intolerance or ability to have empathy towards somebody's situations is ultimately the reason. In other words, we both played a role in it. Well, I think that what we do is, in a lot of cases, is that we try to find reasons why the other person is the fault of why the relationship didn't work out. And I don't think that that's what we're supposed to be doing. What we're supposed to be doing is taking a look at ourselves, regardless of what the other person has done, because ultimately, I could have ended the relationship very early and probably should have, because I was being attacked by my character oftentimes for things that I wasn't doing. And I should have said, do I need to deal with this? Is this worth dealing with? I said yes. because this person is amazing. This person to me was somebody that, I could see myself marrying in the snap of a finger. So you have to understand you're going to take on some level of nobody's perfect. But when I look at the situation now, I have to accept the role that I was allowing that kind of behavior to occur. So I don't want to blame the other person, but what we do as people is we find fault in the other person. And when we do that, we stop ourselves from growing because we're not reflecting on the situation from our side. We're reflecting on the relationship from their side. And that's not fair to do. That's not fair to do for ourselves, and that's not fair to do for the other person, because the other person has their own battles and struggles that they need to overcome, while we have our own battles and struggles that we need to overcome. So one of the things that we have to do is make sure that when you find yourself in a breakup and you have that broken heart, you do not focus on what the other person does. You focus on what you do. And in that moment, or in those times of meditation, reflecting, and processing, you have to ask yourselves, what was that person saying that I wasn't listening to? What was that person asking that I wasn't taking care of? What was I failing to do in the relationship that added life and benefited the relationship as a whole? Because I can assure you there's a lot of things that we aren't doing right. There's things that we aren't taking care of, and we have to sit back and we have to process those. So when we go into the next relationship, we aren't the same person. Make sure you grab that. We have to do those things so we don't go into the next relationship the same person. I want to be better each time. This last relationship was the best I've ever been. Obviously not good enough, but it was the best I'd ever been. And that's because every time I go through heartbreak, I'm trying to focus on myself. I'm trying to focus on the things that I can do and how I can improve so I do not go into the next relationship the same person. But don't ask me for relationship advice, though, because obviously I'm not very good at relationship advice because I can't even stick in a relationship and get married. This isn't about relationship advice. This is about personal growth advice. Don't miss the opportunity to be a better person, and don't use the opportunity as a way to bash somebody else. It's just not good, guys. It's just not good. And the issues that I had in my last relationship, I love that woman. I have no bad things to say about her. Did we have our scuffles? Of course, every relationship does. So I'm going to focus on my insecurities and my reactive behavior and how I can improve that going into my next relationship. And you guys need to do that too. One of the next things that I am very, very focused on, and that's because I'm in recovery. And so being in recovery, that means that I have to watch my behavior very closely and make sure that my behavior stays in line with things that keep me sober, because a relapse is really a shift in behavior for an addict. And so once the behavior shifts the opposite direction and goes back into kind of impulsive and feeling like you're invincible and just daring and full of energy, you're often at times working yourself towards a relapse. So one of the things that I see a lot of people do when they go through heartbreak and breakup is we will listen to our friends or the world around us that tells us, you need to stay busy. Come on, and let's go do this, and let's go do that, and let's go do this, and let's go do that. But we don't take into consideration what kind of choices we're making that could be sacrificing our character and opening up doors for more destruction. Now, I don't want to say destruction like nuclear destruction or destruction like your life is going to fall apart. You absolutely could make those kinds of decisions. But ultimately, we need to make sure that when we're doing things and we're staying busy, it's not avoidance. You don't want to avoid the pain that you're in. You want to stay busy so you don't become sad and depressed sitting by yourself. But you also don't want to be running out to the club, changing who your friends are, starting drinking if you don't drink, smoking if you don't smoke, and doing these activities that aren't actually benefiting your character. They're not benefiting your internal you. They're actually just allowing you to avoid the ways that you feel. And I know how this works because I'll go back many years to when I was 18 years old. I dated this girl. She was my first love. Great gal, still a great gal. But when we split up, if you've heard me speak live, you've also heard me talk about, my mental health issues, my low self-esteem, my anxiety issues, and those existed back then. And so when myself and this female had split up, my heart was majorly broken. And all of my friends at that time were starting to drink and smoke weed and do those things. And so what did I do? I found myself using the drinking and smoking as an avoidance tactic to get away from the pain that I was in from this relationship split. What I didn't realize is that when I was running from the pain, I was actually running into trouble. And that trouble was going to open up doors and they were going to become snares in my life that I couldn't get free from. Because I want you guys to understand how this works. When two people become one in a relationship, and they become one long before the vows of getting married, you have two people that come together as one. And when they come together as one, they experience a lot of they're nice, they're great things. You experience a level of comfort, you experience a level of wholeness, you experience a level of joy, and you experience a level of security when you have a really strong, passionate, and loving relationship. And you experience a level of supportedness where everything just seems to be so good. But when you split that, when you cut that wholeness in half and you separate those two beings, you now have a level of discomfort. You now have a level of unsupportedness. You now have a level of sadness and not joy. You have a level of confusion and not clarity. And as you're experiencing these emotions, what you want to do is find a way to get rid of them. But we don't realize that getting rid of them is not always the goal. It's understanding the emotions and how those emotions can help us become better. So don't make the mistake of being in a level of discomfort, a level of confusion, a level of sadness, a lot of anxiety, and think that I need to go run out and I need to go do all of these things that may be unhealthy for me to avoid how I feel. It's kind of like this. You want to move through the storm and you want to get to the other side of it. A lot of people don't move through the storm. They move with the storm. And the avoidance tactics of staying busy and not self-reflecting and not processing and meditating on the relationship and how things could be different or you could have done better, what you do is you're basically moving with the storm, but you have an umbrella on, or you're holding an umbrella. And the umbrella is keeping you from getting wet. And that wetness from the storm is the emotions that you need to feel, the emotions that you need to process. So the umbrella masks the emotions by keeping us busy and avoiding things, basically a form of denial. And we never clear the storm. What we end up doing is inviting another person under our umbrella, saying, hey, look, let's go here. It's dry. And you try to create another wholeness or another level of unity with another person, but you never addressed the storm that's above the umbrella. And you go into a new relationship, the same person you were, and you experience the same issues, or you attract the same people, and you end up in the same situation that you've always been in. Instead of moving through the storm, and moving through the storm means I'm not going to use an umbrella, I'm going to walk through the storm and I'm going to get wet. I'm going to walk through the storm and my clothes are going to be soaking wet. But if I move through the storm, I will exit the storm. I will reach a level of sunshine. The sunshine will dry me up. And when it dries me up, I will have a new perspective on storms. I will have a new perspective on processing emotions. I will have a new perspective on who I am as a person, how I become better or how I've become better moving through that storm. Don't miss that piece. It's so important for us when we have a broken heart to understand that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to have anxiety. It's okay to miss that person. It's okay to wish you did better. It's okay to think about those things. I'm not asking you to lay in bed or lock yourself in your room and suffer. I'm just telling you, we need to be wise about the decisions we make when we're moving through a storm. And one of the ways that we can be wise and stay focused when we're moving through the storm, or make sure that we are moving through the storm, is something that is referred to in understanding the importance of a plan and understanding the micro process. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have not listened to understanding the plan or understanding the micro process, you need to go back and listen to them, because what I'm about to tell you now is write your stuff down. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm writing my stuff down. I'm writing my stuff down for a very important reason. I have to stay on task. If I don't stay on task, then I could veer left and I could veer right, and the left or the right could knock me off of my progress. I don't want to lose progress, so I make sure I write down my little micro processes that I have to take care of each day. Now, that doesn't make me feel better all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that if you write things down, you're going to feel better. I'm telling you that if you write things down, it'll help you stay on task one day at a time. And over time, you will get better and you will continue to be a winner in your tasks for the daily basis. And your motivation will return on its own. And you'll find that you're feeling better. You'll find that you're smiling more. You'll find that you're feeling good in the car. And you'll find that you're waking up in the morning and going to bed at night and you're feeling more like yourself. And that's the goal, is to get to that point, but get to that point as a new person. You know, like I said, don't ask me for relationship advice. But, you know, these are things that I do. And one of the things is stay true to thyself. That's like a mantra that I have when I go through these heartbreaks, is I just say, be true to thyself. Don't change who you are in this moment to avoid the pain that you're going through. I don't ever want to do that. You know, that doesn't mean I don't want to evolve and become a better person, because I do that. But I don't want to sacrifice who I am. I don't want to change who I really am to pretend I'm not hurt right now. I don't want you guys to do that either. Stay true to thyself. Don't follow people that you normally wouldn't follow right now. Don't do things that you normally wouldn't do right now that are unhealthy for you. Stick to the things that have always made you happy, and they'll make you happy as soon as the sadness wears off and you get through the storm. I promise you that. You know, I don't know how many people are going through what I'm going through right now. I know there's at least one. I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't even going to listen to this right now because, hey, they're not going through heartbreak. Or maybe there's people that are listening right now because they want to know what's going on in my life, and I'm just like an open book that shares everything about myself. I really don't care what people think about me, guys. You know, like, I'm going through a heartbreak. Yeah. I love the woman. Yeah. And we're not together anymore. Yeah. Judge me. Seriously, judge me and see if I care. I don't. I do what I do, and I love what I do. And I do this for the people that are listening that are looking for advice. If you like this podcast, like, rate, and subscribe, please. As I said earlier, like, rate, and subscribe. I know that today's tone was a bit different than the normal podcast, but you know what? Somebody needed to hear this. And if I'm going through it, somebody else is going through it too. I promise you that. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.